Hello, race fans, and welcome to another episode of Shop Talk here on North South Dirt. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Jamie Shook, along with my co-host Peyton Shook, and we're here at the historic 82 Race Shop in Lula, Georgia, with the Reece family. And we are blessed to be here today with them. Honored to be here, gentlemen. Thank you all for having us and allowing us into your shop this morning. And we wanted to come today and pay tribute to your race team and 3 generations of racing, and give y'all a chance to talk about the racing and the family and all the history that's gone along with your family here in the North Georgia area over the years. And so thank y'all for having us today. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us and on the show and doing what you do for the racing community.
Thank you, Eli. We appreciate it. With us today, we got Mr. George Reece Sr. That's been racing here for many decades in the area of North Georgia and all the surrounding states. We've got his son, George Reece II, and grandson, Eli Reece, the youngest of the family, baseball player, race car driver. He does it all. And so, again, thank y'all. We're going to start with Mr. George Reece Sr., if you would, sir. We want to start off with you because you are the foundation of this operation.
Yes.
And so I want to tell you, sir, it's an honor to be here from the standpoint that when I was growing up in the 70s, I was born in 1971 up in the North Georgia mountains. We did not have all the different televisions and cable TVs and all the cell phones and all the distractions we have in modern day life. We didn't have those in the day. The highlight of my week was going with my father and Peyton's grandfather down to the racetracks, the local racetracks of Murphy, North Carolina, Bricetown area, and watching some of those races on the weekends. And I'd come home after I did that and get on my little bicycle and ride around in the yard pretending I was George Reece II or any other heroes that I have out there, George Reece Sr. It was very memorable back in the day to have you guys on the track, and it was my heroes. I didn't have access to other sports, and it meant the world to me, so much so that you can see at 54, I still want to be part of it and be part of the racing community. So thank you for that. I'd like to start off today by asking you, sir, to tell us a little bit about your childhood and how you got interested in racing, and at what point of your life you started doing that with your life.
Yes, I could do that. We appreciate having you guys here too. It was a little unexpected to me, even though I did have a little knowledge of it. But kind of how I got interested in the sport was back in the day, my brother had interest in the sport, and I accompanied him to several different racetracks, and I thought, well, this is something that we could all do together. Later on in life, when my children came along, I drug them back and forth to the racetracks and, to the dirt tracks. You might have to pressure wash them when you got home from the racetrack, but they were all playing in the sand when they were kids at the different racetracks and stuff like that. And it was a family sport that kept us all driven together. In racing, you don't always agree, like in life, you don't always agree with every call that's made or every decision that you make. But at the end of the day, it's still your family, and it's what you have to do to proceed on to the next. I'm real with all of my children, but we spent a lot of time with George. I was real enthused when he first began racing and stuff like that, and then Eli come along and had the same kind of interest and stuff. So it's been a real pleasure to share this with all my other children and my grandkids and stuff like that. It's a family sport.
Well, Mr. Reece, it sounds like you have a lot of years to talk about here. So you said you started going and racing with your brother.
Yes.
What year was that when y'all started? Do you recall what year that was?
It was at Hall County Speedway back when they were open.
60s?
Probably 60s, yeah, late 50s and stuff like that.
Okay, was the number 82 on the side of that car at that point?
I've driven about every number that you can take out.
Okay.
Did Wesley run that number?
No, it was officially. That was our chosen number.
Okay. What made you choose the number? Where did the 82 come from?
Other numbers on other people's race cars, a lot of them were already taken, and the number actually 82 was just vacant at the time. So
that's
we
what
just
you went with.
chose that as being our
Okay.
recognition and our statement as to
Okay.
who it was coming to the racetrack to race you.
So you mentioned that you were racing with your brother. When did you start racing?
Well, they were late getting there, and he had bought me this old helmet, and he told me if he didn't get back in time, to go ahead and drive the car. At that point, I'd never been in one, and so they kept coming saying, get the car out. And so I think I jumped in the car, never fastened the seatbelt or anything, just jumped in the car and pulled that old piece of helmet on and started in the rear because I didn't even know where I was supposed to start. But
And that's what started it.
that's what started it, because before the night was over, I made it from the back of the pack.
You're wheeling that thing.
Front.
Yeah,
first,
wheel
first,
man.
first time
Wheel
ever.
man, first time out.
So they
Came to
thought
third.
they thought my brother was in the car, so they started calling him the Wild Man because of some. I reckon I run over everybody that was on the racetrack,
That's awesome.
and
Yeah,
so he didn't know where his name came from.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
that is
Okay.
so awesome. Well, when I got here today, Mr. Reece, I was honored to look around the shop just a moment before we started filming and saw some of these race helmets. And it's so cool to me to see 3 generations of helmets in front of us and your iconic 82 written faintly still on the back of this old helmet, but it was such a cool piece of history. As you have looked at racing over the years from when you started out to where Eli's car is sitting behind us today, how has that racing changed over the years as far as you being able to work on the car? I know that today they keep us more in a box building cars than they used to with creativity and ingenuity. How has things changed over the years from the way racing was back in your day versus how you have to work with Eli to prep his car?
Well, but in the beginning, as we were starting to race, most of the components on the race cars was just the same thing that you went and got groceries on Saturday. You had a spring here, and that was it. But to carry on with trying to advance our speed and get faster on the racetrack, because it's not just being racing is part of it. The winning is also part of it. It's what we all seek,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
seek for,
That's right.
and we go for. So we begin to, myself especially, I began to start fooling around with the suspension and stuff. That was a great thing, and a lot of hours contributed to that on the older cars, was trying to make the car drive itself as much as you could. And I think we're still doing that today in racing.
I
We've
agree.
just come a long way with a lot of different components. It's different.
So what track did you say you started at with your brother?
That would have been the old Hall County Speedway.
So it's no longer open.
That's not been
What
open
year did
for
it
years.
shut down?
When did it shut
What
down?
year did it shut down?
Oh.
Do you recall?
30, 40 years ago.
Really? So
70s,
where
80s.
so once that shut down, where did your racing career go at that point? What year was this, and where was you racing?
I don't know what year it was. I don't remember, but we ventured on down to Winder Speedway, and then we began to, as we got more experience and we were able to get the car kind of up to the front, it made you want to go venture out to see what other teams had. Just like with talking with Eli and Georgie and stuff like that, I think you should kind of be able to hold your own at your home racetrack first before you start looking for other places to go. But we were fortunate enough to be able to do some of that. So
Give us some stories about Winder Speedway. Kind of some years, what kind of cars you guys had. So when you started racing at Winder Barrow, I know you said it's kind of tough to remember the years, which is understandable, but give us some of the cars that you raced at Winder, and then you started venturing out. Kind of let us know what kind of cars you raced?
That would have been a 1955 Chevrolet, was a late model car back in the day.
So that was the late model that we have now.
Before that, we had the Skeeter cars, the outlaw cars with the wings on top. But when it got into the fans, were demanding that they wanted to see something on the racetrack like they drove every day. And so we got into the era of Fords, 55, 56, 57 Fords, and Chevrolets, 55, 56, and up through there. And then start modification on them to try to make the car be faster. When we moved into Winder down there, Tyree Dodd was driving a car. He was driving a Ford, and that race has always been between Ford and Chevrolet, has always been a dominating in the sport because the fans, the sets in the stands, and that's what makes it all possible for racing. So we moved in down there and started racing those guys and stuff like that, and had success there.
Okay, so you said it was probably the early 70s.
Yeah.
You won. I seen some trophies you showed me earlier. It looked like a track championship or a mid-season championship. You kind of want to talk about that a little bit. Walk us through that season. Give us some information on that.
Yeah, we had my pit crew. I had to give a lot of credit to that because you got guys that come in, after getting off from work all day, and they stay there with you to do these changes in the car. Of course, back then everybody was trying to keep all that secret,
Right.
as they could.
That's racing, ain't it? That's still racing, I believe.
Racing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But tire sponsors and the sponsors is what made it possible. Jimmy Smith, that was American Racer today. It was Mercury Racing at the time, and he furnished me tires and stuff like that, and other people.
But think about it in the 70s when you run that Orange 82
Oh yeah.
Nova. I mean, that was you
Yeah.
were running at Winder, and I was just a little baby.
Yeah.
I was born in 70, so I was a baby in 72 when he won the track championships. But I can remember when I was about 6 that the Orange 82 that you won a bunch of races with, and they had a picture where Ray Allison won, and he was like a fender behind him, run second at a championship race there.
Yeah, close.
And that was in a newspaper, which back then was a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, it was a
That's
big
like
deal.
world news when you made it to the newspaper
So-
in the early 70s.
So once you came on, you kind of recall some of that
Yeah.
stuff also.
Yeah.
So the 82, give us some information on the 82 and what tracks you raced at, and
That was a 1962 Chevy 2, and we took a 55 Chevrolet frame and cut it in two, and Zeke put it back together. People like John Reed, Reece Racing, Reed Race Cams and stuff like that, he took some special interest in me and became part of what we were doing, and we experimented a lot because I built my own engines and stuff, and so we had people like that devoted their time and effort to trying to help get the car in the front and stay in the front with it. But that old car was heavy. When we were talking earlier about the newer type race cars and the weights and stuff like that. That thing probably weighed over 4,000 pounds.
Didn't you have the rails plated from front to back? They still plated because back then the tracks were muddier.
Well,
Yeah.
Lord,
That
yeah.
weighed more than a World War
Yeah.
tank.
Didn't y'all win?
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
you win
That's
15 races in a row between Winder and Athens?
Something like that, yeah. And we
so that was with the same
plating that
car,
frame.
the
we
Orange
cut
82.
1/4-inch steel plate and a torch and cut out the sides of the frame and especially plumb on back where we put it together. So it was kind of like, a lot of people called it a tank because they could run over it and bang off of it, but it was kind of like throwing a tennis ball at a brick wall.
Yeah, it was.
just bounce off of it.
Yeah. So that was in the 80s,
70s.
70s.
So,
Okay. And what tracks were you guys at this point?
anything that we could get to, locally, Athens, Winder,
Now, when you say Winder, this is the same Winder Speedway that we
That's
raced at
Saturday,
today.
yes.
Okay,
And it opened in 1964.
in 1964.
So in 72, it was a fairly brand new track
Yeah,
back in the day.
Joel Crow had built that track.
And I remember going down there as a little kid, and they filmed part of the movie Grease Lightning with Richard Pryor at Winder Speedway.
okay.
And we went down there when they filmed it. And I don't know if you've seen that movie. It was about
Yep.
Wendell Scott.
Yep.
But we went down there, and Richard Pryor's down there, and all these people, and
That's cool.
at the set. And that was filmed at Winder in 1977 when I was 7 years old.
That is so awesome.
But I remember going down to Winder and Athens with him, and we didn't run at Toccoa too much or Livonia much then. He was really running more Winder and Athens.
Yeah.
Coming over at foot of the mountain.
So where did you come in the picture at this point? Where did you start racing?
I hadn't started racing yet, but I started, I was in the early 80s. Again, I was born in 70, so around 12, 13, Lanier Raceway started. And he had quit racing in a few years. And, I remembered, the tail end before he had quit racing. And we would be going to dinner in town, I'd say, occasionally. And I'd say, let's go by the racetrack. Lanier Raceway had opened. Let's go. Nah, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. And he finally, one night, we started heading that direction. He didn't say nothing, and we went. And we got there that night. David Grogan, who was a longtime friend of his, and they helped each other, was there racing that night. And we went back the next week, and it wasn't a few weeks later that Robert Sullins, they called him Hambone. It's Kenny Harris's grandfather. And he had a car racing down there. And he was in the transition of switching drivers. They wasn't having a lot of success. So Dad was going to drive for him and start back racing. And we go down there, and he was going to let somebody who helped him drive the race car. And the guy totaled the race car that night. The guy wrecked the car and totaled it. So he went and bought, Hambone went and got a Nova. It was like a 60s Nova body, I think 55 frame. And they set it up, and they went, and we started, and he was racing it, but they won their fourth race out in the car. And he ended up, over the next couple of years, he won 6 races in a row down there, and he was running against David Greenwood, of course, David Grogan, a lot of good racers. They was running what was called cadet, but they had so many cars, they'd have 3 races in the same class. They might have 60 race cars for that one division.
Oh my.
Wow.
And, Lanier Raceway was packed. Trackside, they sold, you reserved your spot, they had the hill, and it would be packed. But anyway, I remember that, and then he kind of branched out on his own, and then that's when Grady Hulsey and Hulsey Auto Parts become a big sponsor of his, and he built his own car, and he had the first, then you had to run steel bodies on the car, but you could run a Camaro clip with a jig frame, and Grady Hulsey gave him an 82 Camaro body in about 83 or 4. So there was no 82 Camaros running. You know what I mean? It was older Camaros. Right. And he built, him and Hayden Sosby, whose son Randy raced, and Hayden Sosby around the Toccoa area. He started building frames, and they built the frame together, jig frame with Camaro clip. And one thing neat I'll remember is he had a thing built where he had weight blocks of like 20 pounds increments. And he had a rod built. He had a friend that worked at a store at Gamco where they fabricate stuff for chicken plants. And he made a rod that kind of looked like a shifter rod in the car. And he had those weight increments where on a caution he could pull down, bump it, and knock off 20 pounds of bite on the left rear by one bump. Every bump was 20 pounds to adjust a race car while you was racing.
Yeah.
Which was really innovative
Correct.
back in the day.
Definitely.
And he won a lot of races at car, and then he moved up to like limited, won some races at Lanier, and then had some conflicts with the owner of Lanier Raceway. And to me, another neat story I remember before we get into my racing, they made a rule at Lanier in limited you couldn't run a quick change rear end. So everybody's running 9-inch Ford rear ends. So him and Roscoe Smith, he was running Roscoe Smith race car then. Grady Hulsey helped sponsor him. And they built a quick change transmission. So the quick change mechanism was on back of the transmission, had like a 4-wheel drive shaft. There was no rules about the transmission. He just had to have forward reverse. But just to mess with him, he built an aluminum metal box around it. And he got protested at Lear Raceway every other week. Said George was running a quick change rear end, and Bobby Smith, who worked at Lear Raceway, was like the head guy there.
Right.
He would come check and call back up. They had them old walkie-talkies. There's not a quick change under here, bud. And they kept protesting. And one more story of that car. Then he started running some Athens, Livonia, and he won a championship race at Athens in limited. And Billy Clanton won the super late model race that night. Shane Clanton's dad at Athens,
Right.
and we both got protested. And again, there you could even run a quick change rear end at Athens. They didn't have that rule. But when they protested him again, just to mess with him, we kind of covered up and hid and took that aluminum box off, wrapped it up with those blue rags we had in the truck,
Right.
and took it out and put it in the trailer. And man, they were talking about that. Boy,
Oh, yeah.
he had some special transmission. That's why that car's so fast.
Right.
But in the motor, at Lanier Raceway, you had to run straight plug heads, small valves, hydraulic cam, and limited. Athens, you could run angle plug, big valve, solid lift cams. So his motor was way smaller than their motors when they tore it down.
Right.
And they were kind of, a little bit ashamed
That's
about
racing,
it.
though, right?
Yeah.
The ingenuity is racing.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of the drivers are complaining now because the box seems to be getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
How about one more story that I think is a real good innovation he did before I really got into my racing? But he talked about the Ford and Chevy rivalry. Athens Speedway. He was going to run there the next season. Limited was a top class in. They'd cut out supers. Kind of like now, the supers was,
Yeah.
here, there, yonder. Limited was a top class. I'll never forget this. I was probably 15 years old. Mike White was one of the local heroes down there. Athens won a lot of races. Run James Lyle's engines, which was the best around. He built his own engines in most of the time, like you said. But they said they wanted to encourage people to run Fords. Everybody had gone back to running mostly Chevys. There wasn't no Fords running.
Sure.
They said they wanted to get that rivalry back
Right.
because they had a lot of Ford fans. So they said they wanted to give Fords a little break to encourage some people to build a Ford. And they wanted the driver's opinion. This is drivers meeting at the end of the year for next year's rule. And Mike White, which he was good. He won a lot of races, but he was cocky and arrogant. He stood up and said, or raised his hand and said, "You know what I think? What?" Said, "You can let a damn Ford run anything they want because I just
Right.
love outrunning them damn Fords." So
Yeah.
so Grady Halsey give him a Smoky Joe chassis car. Harsh Fowler had run some, but it was a good car. And then he had a motor being built at Lyle's, a Ford engine. And at the time, I remember us going to James Lyle's shop. He built Bill Elliott's short blocks. This was mid-'80s when Bill Elliott was one of the fastest cars in the world.
Sure. Yeah.
And he told us that year he had contracted to build 30-something engines for Elliott before the season started. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We was there
Right.
one day at the Coors Mill, and man pulled up with
we
Bill
know.
Elliott's engine was loaded in that van.
Right,
Now,
absolutely.
Ernie put the heads on it and the top end, but James Lyles did all the bottom ends. Anyway, he built that Ford engine, and he went down there. Oh, here's the other thing. They said you could run on coilovers on the front on the Fords, full jig frames, but no coilovers on the rear. It had to be an automotive spring. So he went and got a spring out of the junkyard out of a Volkswagen Rabbit. And a Volkswagen Rabbit spring in the 80s looked just like a coilover. So he took it down to him and said, "Is this automotive spring legal to run?" Yeah.
I'll be darned.
So he
Yeah.
had that same guy that built that mechanism, built a mechanism that wasn't a shock with a rod and shaft with an adjustable nut, just like a shock, but it was just in and out.
Yeah.
And where you could run that coilover spring, and he put it right beside the shock on this four coilover car. And then James wanted to run what was called an AccuSump oil system because you couldn't run dry sumps in limited.
Yeah.
And it pumps 3/4 of oil through, but that thing back then was aluminum cylinder with a valve, and he got a nitrous oxide sticker from a dentist's office and put it on the side of that
Right.
cylinder. It said nitrous oxide, and they thought he had nitrous oxide on it. He won 9 out of the first 10
Oh,
races. That car was so dominant. He won 9 out of the first 10 races. The race he didn't win, he run second. And the toe end was knocked out 5 inches. He got into it and hit a car at the beginning of the race, knocked the toe end out 5 inches.
That's awesome.
He would be on the other straightaway. All the Chevy drivers got with the promoter and said, that car is going to be illegal. We're not racing. Because they couldn't, it wasn't
they
no
couldn't
race.
do anything with you.
They pulled
And
him out on
they protested him the next week.
Is that some of the hardware we have in the shop today? Yeah.
They
That's
protested him the next week.
Awesome. Yeah.
And James Lyles ever said if he ever got protests, he won't come tear the engine down. He was one of the best of the day. Like I said, he was Bill Elliott, short boss. He come down there and tore it down. And the one guy said, the motor's legal. Who was the racer, who was like running it. The other partner, who was a used car dealer, Jerry Reed in town, said, I'm going to let you know Monday. We're going to have to call Ford about these heads. Which he knew meant I'm getting hosed. He just don't want to tell me to my face because it might not be good for him. And on Monday, he called him and said, oh, Ford, these heads are illegal.
Right. Hadn't even called him, probably.
No.
Hadn't even made that.
But he put an old regular limited motor in, like the Chevys run
Right.
the next week, and went down there and outrun them with that motor, and they protested, and it was legal. Flat top toe. Fords, you could run dome pistons, you could run a roller, and they run limited motors with just like flat tappet cams, flat
See, those
tops.
are the stories I love. It's the ingenuity.
Yeah.
That is racing. That
Yeah.
that creativity, that engineering.
But
piece
they
is what
complained
makes
about that
racing racing.
nitrous oxide.
Yeah.
They complained about them springs, and they would protest them, and they'd say they're legal.
Yeah.
Well, we were part of the SVO program that Ford Motor Company was doing, and they donated us a block and some stuff like that. And when we were tore down, we were you could run up to 400 and something cubic inch because some of the cars, most of the cars we raced had that. This little thing was a very small cubic inch little motor with a small bore, stuff like
But
that.
it was super fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
That
just
motor's
worked
super
good.
fast, and Doug
Yeah.
Kennemer at the same time was driving for Delonico Equipment, and they bought one of Bill's short track engines and had James redo it. And Doug Kennemer won every super late model race he finished that year in Delonico Equipment car. Everywhere you'd read if you weren't there, and some tracks we was there and he did it, he had put a straightaway on them. He was totally dominant in that car, and he was running super. Dad was running limited
Yeah.
at the time. But
So as we transition from your dad's racing career, I'd like for you to focus on the
Mine-
influence he had on your
Mine.
life, the habits maybe you picked up
Yeah.
from him, good or bad, and how that transitioned into you having the success you had.
what I picked up when I transitioned in, again, I was part of it when I was a kid a lot, and he was always, work. His big theory was you had to work on the car 5 days to race one, and always have your car, mechanically top condition and set up, the best you could. And when you went to the race, you was able to finish the race. You had to finish the race before you win a race. So he was real big on the mechanics, but he was also very, very frugal and did a lot of stuff, ourselves.
Sure.
And he had the knowledge and capability, to set front ends, help build front ends. And real quick, I'll tell a story about I actually started on asphalt.
Okay.
I didn't run but about a half a season when Livonia was paved. They had paved Livonia.
Uh-huh.
And this was probably in about 90. And the car he bought, we bought it from the person Ray Brooks, who was a big time racer around Athens Little Raceway. He'd run Barry Wright cars and like house cars before, and a guy named Smitty, who was legendary in this area. We bought the car from him, but it's an old car out in the field, or out in the woods. We had to cut a little tree down to get it out. He bought it for a few $100, brought it to his shop. He said, take a wire brush it, because it was all rusty. Wire brush it and paint it. So we wire
Right.
brush it, spray bomb. We put that thing together and raced. Stonkas was a big time asphalt. Lanier with asphalt. Asphalt was big, but the reason we didn't like it was so expensive. So we went down there, and it was a rear steer car. Most all the asphalt cars were front steer. Ray Stonkas give us a set of spindles out of his junk pile, and he said, you can turn these around and they'll work. Dad worked him and Weldon Whitmire, who was one of the big-time help and support and fabricators for the team, worked hours on that front end geometry, getting it set.
Sure.
And got there, and I run about a half season. I didn't win any that season. I did run some fourth and fifth, tough fields of cars, but they was running restrictor plates, and the front cars was running high-dollar engines from a place that had dynos, and that was the thing with the restrictor plate. If you didn't have the dyno to play with the camshaft and all that technology, it was hard to get the power.
Sure, yeah.
But I just remember putting that car together, and the second car, which would have been the first dirt car, the next season, tires would spend some asphalt. We said, we're going to dirt. They're still running that winder. Winder still had wood walls before they cemented. And he bought a car from a guy who had ran at Lanier Raceway. It was a Gigolo chassis. He had won the points championship the year before the guy did in an old 55 frame car, kind of like Dad was talking about. His name was Ricky Armour. He was actually sheriff in Maysville a few years ago. And them cars was out in the field at his chicken houses, and grass was as high as the cars was. And one of them was turned over to Gigolo because they were so unhappy at Gigolo because they had bought it and it was the latest, greatest thing. And he didn't win a race with it that following season. And Dad bought both them cars dirt cheap, and he sold the one car for more than he paid for both of them. And to that Gigolo, back then you was running the jig frame with the Camaro clip, but you had to run an automotive spindle.
Mm-hmm.
And we took the car to the track, and the damn front end just wasn't right. It'd want to weave and stuff. And he worked on that front end, those spindles, and made some changes. And my third limited race at Winder, I was leading it. Third race ever on dirt in limited. Now, I went to some practices.
Right.
We went to practices, and I'll tell you one big advantage. I went to practice, he watched, and he got out there and drove the car. And he would say, the car's good, it's the driver.
Honesty, is that right?
Yeah,
sir.
so I would learn.
You're the problem.
I would learn.
I like that.
Hey, that's what I'm
Straight
doing
shooter,
wrong.
yeah.
Hey.
So
that's right.
that got
That's
me
what it
good
takes.
before I ever got to a race. Third race, I'm leading Robin Collins, Kenny Collins' dad's running second. Now, he was better than me. He was faster through the corners than me. I had a big old motor. You know, they didn't protest at Winder. It was almost like run what you brung. And mine was a big one. And when I got the old car straight, I could,
could
keep
make up the
him
difference,
behind me.
Yeah.
And he's getting closer and closer. And, he's under me and racing me clean. He's a good, clean racer.
Sure, yeah.
And I kept getting higher and higher, getting in harder and harder. And finally, on the back straightaway, I got so high, I hit that wall at Winder, and it was wood.
Yep.
I went up on two wheels, and the post was cross ties. I was jumping those cross
Oh, my
ties
goodness.
boards. Robin told me when he went by, he looked over, he could see the top of the car. I'm on two wheels when he passed me. I landed, I'm in third. But
Yeah.
I had two flat tires.
Airborne,
So
yeah.
I pull in, we put tires on. I'm so excited. I'd never led a race. And he's like, kill the engine.
Right.
I thought, no, put tires on it. Like, kill it. It bent the axle tube 4 inches.
Right.
It tore the right
yeah.
front A-frame. It
That's
was
awesome.
drugging bad. But 2 races later, I won. So my 5th race ever on dirt, I won in limited. And, Robin Collins was running down there.
Some good talent.
Other people. And I won 5 races that season. And at the end of the year, we sold that car for good money because it was winning now. And went and bought the second car I ever run, and it was an Eagle chassis car, a guy who copied Gigolo, kind of like,
what year was this?
This was probably about 86,
86.
85,
Jimmy Payne.
86, yeah, Jimmy Payne. No, I'm sorry. This was probably about 91. I'm
Okay.
sorry, not in the mid-80s. This was more like early 90s. And it was a Camaro clip with a jig frame, but then you could run like, some cars you could run like rack and pinion, racing steered and stuff like that. The cars had advanced. And, but you still couldn't run like 4 bars. It had a 3-link suspension with like a 5-foot truck arm on the right side, a short bar on the left side, and then a spring bar, a 3-link they called it, spring bar on top of quick change. But them were fine race cars.
Yeah.
Right.
And this was a car he had put up for his son. It was like a chassis around back of his shop. He had it slid in the back, and then his son had got in trouble and stuff. And he decided he wasn't going to race.
Right.
And when he built cars for Dad a few years before that. He sponsored him a super late model chassis, and ran some in it. But so we knew him through that connection. But the guy was really good in Rockmont, Georgia. And I went and I won a good many races with that car that following season at Winder, Hartwell, won some, and at Hartwell, Dad had the same car, but just another guy owned it. A guy named Roy Reed he drove for, and he won a championship race at Hartwell, and I run second.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal and a big memory. But that year at Hartwell, the one race I won, he went on vacation that night, and he went up to the mountains, and I won that night. But Aaron Gailey was running up there, Steve Yarborough, Shane Art Yarborough's, I believe it was his uncle.
Yeah.
Very good racers. There's good competition there in that time. But
I know that each driver has their own style and feel for the way they like a car to be. What was the favorite tracks you guys had to run based on your driving style and the way you like a car to feel?
For me personally, I really like Phoenix City, Alabama.
Yep.
We went down there to the big race every year. I did run third in it one season. Which
Ray Cook still runs that track with Southern Nationals, I guess.
I think he does.
Yeah, Phoenix City, yeah.
Yeah.
But I run third in what they call the National 100, which the top three, you get big trophies. They put you on the track.
Mm-hmm.
One year I was one of the fastest car there. Shane Clanton was still running limited. Mm-hmm. And it was that same Eagle chassis we're talking about. Them were good race cars. And me and him was one of the fastest cars I ever practiced. And went out there to qualify. And it was a whole 4-day weekend affair, and we was turning in and landed around 7,800, RPMs. You could run good crank rods. I went to qualify, and at the end of the straightaway, the car just died, and it only turned 6,300. Still qualified. The car was so good. I qualified 12th of about 40 cars, turning 6,300 instead of 7,800. So that tells you how fast the car was.
Yeah.
But a damn hot dog bun wrapper. Everybody's cooking out down there. Some people even stayed in their truck, on their rigs, and would camp at the track because it's a big event. There'd be 200 or 300 race cars in, and it wrapped around the breather, so it was strict in the air like you had a restrictor on it when I qualified. So
that really
that's
hurt too.
Yeah. But anyway, I had a lot of good runs there. But I also really liked Hartwell Raceway and Westminster Speedway.
Sure.
Yeah. Glad to see Hartwell's got a good schedule up this year.
And they're trying to get
shout out to
Westminster
them.
back running.
Yeah, I seen that also. So
Shout
out to both of those places.
What was funny about Westminster, the first couple times I run there, I didn't actually like it and run good. And when the first time I
what
drove,
year was it?
This was probably now we're probably in either late 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah.
And he's racing too. And I get up there and he had won a couple of races up there. Him and Melvin English had a lot of good racing up there.
Oh yeah.
And Melvin was real fast.
Yeah.
And anyway, he said, "Drive my car tonight. If you want to drive my car tonight," I said, "Sure." I dang backed into so at Westminster, you had to really slow down in 3 and 4, or you'd overdrive the corner. You could go fast in 1 and 2. Right. I went in 3 and 4, backed it into the wall, and bent the rear frame. And a winning car. And now we didn't take it back to the jig. We strapped it down this damn shop floor. He had anchors in it. He pulled the thing back around and went back to winning races in it. But that's like, when you go out there and total somebody's winning race car, we're talking about a winning race car.
Yeah.
I was like, shoot. But
that's a big place.
A few years later, I really got good there. And I won in 2007. It's on the wall. Over there, I won the Fast Track Series race.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's 40 race cars there. I qualified number 2 out of 40 cars. You're talking about David McCoy, was a lot of good racers. Not Jimmy Smith, but those guys at Phoenix City, Thomas. Jimmy, which he's really good now. Good. William, the one, he was just a boy then.
Oh, yeah.
He was there.
Good racer.
And a ton of them.
Yeah.
That was a loaded field. Paid $2,000, which in the early 2000s, that was a lot of money.
I remember the Fast Track Series.
And I ended up winning the track championship at Toccoa and Westminster. Won 15 races. Sure. And, like Saturday night race, 2007.
2007.
I got a
what
jacket.
What was the year that you and your dad run first and second?
That was probably in the early 90s. That was probably about 91, 92.
Where was that at?
Hartwell. And I'll tell you another good story. Westminster, Tri-County. Y'all from Tri-County.
Yes, sir.
We didn't go there a ton, but every time he went there, he won the race. Now, he was running limited.
Yeah.
They had a good field of limited cars there.
Oh yeah.
Pug Wimpy, like he said, he would pay him to come up there. It was a long, back then it was still a long trip in the early
Right.
90s.
Oh, absolutely.
Going across that mountain. We had an old Q van he had fixed up. And
Yeah.
But anyway, this was my second year, and I was racing too. Get up there, and back then you drew for position in limited. I drew like 3, 4, towards the front. He drew in the back. And again, it's my second year, but I've won races. I'm competitive. I'm good, but
Sure, yeah.
not nowhere near as good as he was at the time. And you know how you get in the corner and you're at the point where you will know your cars, you hold it wide open and hope you catch it or you spin out.
Yeah.
I was at that point. But I didn't know I was running third. He had come from the back to fourth and was passing me. I didn't know that, so I'm on high at Tri-County. He's going under me. When I go wide open, I go right into his right rear tire and bust his right rear tire.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah.
Well, I come in, I end up third. He knocked me back straight. I run third that night. I come in, 5 or 10 laps later, we parked side by side. He's gone. Like, where's trailer, he's gone. He said he didn't want to see you tonight.
Oh my goodness.
And he said he'll see you tomorrow.
Best to leave the scene, was it? That is awesome.
He was
What a great
gone.
story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get home how you can. I'm out of here. Good
Yeah.
for you. Most finest accomplishments that you had over the years. Could you tell us what your most proud moments are?
Yeah, I think I won track championships at Winders, Vera Speedway, several Toccoa Speedway, Hartwell Speedway won one, and at Westminster Speedway. And then the 2007 year was probably the pinnacle of my racing. And I won, 15, it's called 604 crate races there, but fast track series. I won 15 races between them two tracks and the track championship at both tracks. And a series race I won at Westminster that year. I run second at the series race in Whitesburg, Georgia that season. I run about 5 or 6 series races that year.
Sure.
Say I had a first and a second. And so a lot of success that year. I had 2 cars, and one of the cars was original Casey Roberts built car for him that I
A lot of
ended up
respect
with.
for Case. Yeah.
So that was pretty neat and cool as GRT cars. And I had a lot of people helping me and supporting me. Kenny Harris helped me on my team, and Larry, my dad, and of course a lot of his old people that helped him, older people that helped him help me, Charles Fuller, Weldon Whitmire, Justin Smith. And then my oldest son was by then old enough to be part of my pit crew, Jacob Reece. He was a big part, would go with me to all the races.
Sure. Yeah.
And I quit because this one started playing travel baseball.
Sure. Had
About
other
8 years old, and that was the end of my racing because it was more important to me supporting his
Sure.
baseball career.
What
than
was
my
the last
racing
race you
career.
ran? What year did
I
you
think it was
finish up?
about 2008, 9. I tell you what, I did come back about 2010 and drove his car one night at Toccoa when that was when they had the Thunder Series 602. I won the heat race, and then end up, I think I run second or third in the race at Toccoa, but
And that was
I
your
did-
last night behind the
yeah,
wheel.
I did win the heat race. They had heat race at the end. I won one.
So at 56, happy birthday to
Thank
you.
you.
And so I can respect that. But as I look at it, do you have any interest of getting back through the window and driving again at some point?
Not as far as really a racing career or anything. I might try one practice or something. I don't know, but
Well, it'd be cool if you ran with your son,
Yeah,
as
maybe.
you did your father.
I don't
one
want
race.
to embarrass him without money.
I'm with you. Yeah, sure. You show
I
Eli.
told him once that one night if he didn't get it in the front, I was going to go out there and drive it for him.
So
Well, I
you
know
get a
you're-
little bit of that too, then.
And as
I
we
am.
transition to Eli and his future, Eli, thank you for what you've done with carrying on the legacy of racing, because I know that as a young individual, you have a lot going on, a lot of distractions. I know you play baseball and have been for many years now, but so there's a lot going on in a young person's life with college. You're playing college baseball, and so you have a lot going on in your own life, but yet you still find time to carry on this family tradition of racing. I have a lot of respect for that because I know how much it means to young kids and to have someone to look at and look up to. And so thank you for your racing. Tell us a little bit about what you have going on. I know you got your car sitting behind us, and tell us what you look forward to with your racing career.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a long one. I really want to continue doing it. I really enjoy it, and like you said, carrying on the family legacy. I'm just trying to, fill up their shoes the best I can. It's a tall order trying to, continue on the legacy they built just because they had so much success. But Grandpa always tells me, I have my own shoes to fill and not to try to worry about theirs. So, yeah, I'm really excited to hopefully keep it going as long as I can and to find some more success.
Go back looking at the racing careers that you've had. Any regrets or any celebrations that you particularly have, Mr. George, as you think back in your career?
Well, I don't know that I would change anything, and I'm excited today about the Eli's involvement in it. I was excited when Georgie got started in it and went on to be a great success, I felt like. So I don't know, the goods and bads come with life, but being family and holding your family together with some dirt,
Sure, you bet, absolutely.
has been rewarding to me.
And working here at the shop, I'm sure over the years, and having everyone.
When Eli's at home and stuff like that, I try to make sure that I have the time and the opportunity to spend that time with him, because it goes by so rapidly.
Sure.
That you blink your eye a couple of times and you're in another stage of your life.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I would say that any racing team that's a family-oriented sport, to enjoy that and put forth the best effort you can. If you need any help with advice or anything like that, there's usually somebody always available that will try, even if it's the guy you're racing against.
Yeah,
to
that's
try to
true.
help.
As a race fan, I have access to watch you at the track, but I never get to see the memories created in the shop and on the road to eating out as you're traveling to and fro and all those things. That, as you said, I've never thought about dirt being a glue for a family, but it has been here, hasn't it? It's been special.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets, anything that you'd like to mention? Anything
No, I do, tie on the way saying about the glue of the family. That's the reason I'm doing it now. I say Eli's doing it, my oldest son, very important. Jacob, he's involved heavily in my wife.
Sure.
She supported me the whole time and would go and still supports Eli. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing it.
Sure.
Now.
Yeah.
And my dad, and like you said, a lot of days here working at the shop together, you just wouldn't have those opportunities because, like we all know, it's like you said, people's got their phone in their hands all the
Sure,
time.
even at a family reunion now, we
Yeah.
find ourselves at this time distracted by phones, and it's almost like people doesn't have the ability to communicate as
Yeah.
we are today. They're distracted with their phones, and there's so many distractions. So I'm envious that y'all have had
Yeah.
this time together. It's been an honor to be here with all of you guys today and hear your stories and hear how this family has all participated in the racing. Any special shout outs to individuals within the family?
I got a couple things I was wanting to ask Eli. Just real quick on your racing career, let us know, what year did you graduate high school?
So I graduated in 2022 from North Hall, and we in baseball won a state championship there in 2021, which I was pretty proud of. Wanted to
Okay.
give a
So
shout
you were a
out.
big part of that state championship. Okay. And then after high school, kind of tell us what happened.
So graduated and I committed to play at the school I'm at now, UVA wise, in 2022 during my senior year, and finished up that year. We had another good run, won 32 games, undefeated one region, went to the Final Four and came up just short. And after I graduated, got in the car a few times at practice. First time.
What year was this?
This was in 22.
So that was the first time you got in a car.
Yeah,
Okay.
ever any race car ever, no go-kart racing, nothing like that growing up. Just
Not even in the shop. He didn't hardly know what a screwdriver was when we first
Well,
started.
hey, you
And
gotta
He does
start.
now.
yeah, and so got out there and I tore down the wall once or twice. And apparently, according to my grandpa, Pop over there, and my brother Jacob, apparently I put down a really good lap, and they saw something to let me try it again. And
Yeah, when he went into the corner at Toccoa, I just closed my eyes because he's fixed to total the race car, but he didn't. He made it through there. Me and Dad looked at him like, dang. He made it to the next corner, and then that next lap, he did slam into the wall. Yeah. And Dad looked at me and said, it's a lot easier to slow him down than it is to speed him up.
Yeah, hey, he's right.
And I said, you're right.
So
and we just saw that, like, dang.
Well, so, I've got to know you guys. We done some trading, per se, back, last year. So I kind of built a relationship with you guys, and glad we did. So, along we've kept up some, but I want to talk about this year. You guys have run some red clay races, which you guys have been successful. Had some bad luck, I would say, in some of those races. Even ran some bigger races, with the 602, and kind of give us some of those and what tracks y'all went to.
So yeah, we actually this will be a good story. I guess how they have the Hell Tour, they call it, the Summer National. They run like 32 races in 35 days, something crazy. Well, we kind of did our own personal Hell Tour that week, and we ran at Toccoa that Saturday night, and it was just a weekly show, but good cars, Kevin Stevens, Dave McCoy, and qualified second, ran third, and to those guys, and then that Tuesday, red clay came to Toccoa, and that is actually an interesting story in my story.
Your first ever red clay race.
First ever red clay race, and I've only ran 2-3 half seasons because I can't run any during March, April, May, or through the fall because of school, and so I don't get any of those practices or anything. And so red clay came to town, and we go out there, and it's muddy for hot laps. We go out there for qualifying, and I got a tough group qualifying. Brandon Haley, Cornbread, Kevin Stevens, David Smith's there.
He's tough.
David
McCoy.
A lot of good cars.
Loaded field, and I go out there and I qualify second in my group, in Group A, and behind Cornbread, and we go out there for the race, and I start third, and stuff ends up happening.
Beard.
I'm running, and Frankie Beard, and I'm running fourth behind David Smith, Kevin, and Frankie, and then I get a good run on the outside. I pass Frankie on the outside. I get to third. Kevin ends up blowing his left rear, so I get to second, and I'm running second. And then I'd found a lane there in 3 and 4 finally, right up there against the wall, and if I could just hold it, I held it 3 or 4 laps in a row, and I'd really started pulling down David Smith a little bit, and pulled within a car length and a half, I'd say, and closed a few car lengths of a gap, and sure enough, we're going down the front straightaway, and all of a sudden, and they hadn't said caution, nothing. All of a sudden, we're going down the front straightaway, and I just see him dart down the track. I thought, man, that's funny. I'm a car length and a half behind him, so he darts down the track, and as soon as he darts down the track, it's like that. I see something shiny, and I run over, and I'm like, oh, God. And I thought it was part of the car. Well, immediately, I'm like, well, I got a flat, I think. I pull down to the pits. Yep, you got a flat. I pull in there. And I asked him, I said, what the heck did I run over? And they're like, I think it was a ladder. And it was like, a ladder on the race, ladder on the racetrack?
A ladder.
Yeah. And so they get my crew, Justin, Little Jake, and all that. They get the tire change on the right rear, and I get back out there, and I pull back up to my spot because I thought, a ladder, that ain't my fault. Right. If it's a piece of race car, up, tough luck. And he says 82 to the rear, so I pull it back down there to the pits, and I park it, and I said, look, y'all didn't tell me caution. Y'all didn't do nothing, and y'all left a ladder on the racetrack.
They left a ladder that you go from the end to outside.
From the from the Super Late Model race.
To come down and interview the Super Late Model drivers
from the race before, and
that's why he hit.
And I told him, I said, that's not my fault. I can't do anything. That's on y'all.
That ain't a racing thing.
Right. I could have gotten hurt. I said, what if that thing would have he would have hit that, flew up in my cockpit or something? I could have gotten hurt. And surely enough, they did do what the right thing was. They put me back in my position. The car after that, different right rear stagger, it wasn't the same, and I ended up holding on to second in the big race into David. And
first ever red clay race.
First ever, second. Yeah, and so then we went that Thursday to Sugar Creek, first time ever there, and ran 6th, and the red clay race. And then Friday, turned around, we went to North Georgia, and I started 8th, and I ended up running 5th, and got up to 5th, and then
Second time ever at North
second
Georgia.
time ever in North Georgia, and then that Saturday we went to Livonia and ran
Sure.
4th or 5th, and we ran 5 or 6 races in 8 days, and that
That's
was
tough.
yeah, it was real.
Those guys
true.
that actually run the Hell Tour, like
Yeah.
my hat's off to
Right.
them because
Yeah.
And I'm on real.
they all that many days in a row. That's
I'm
a
on
job.
real quick. Just brag on him a little bit. He did
Absolutely.
his second season. He won when Hartwell started back racing. It was an actual 602 race. He won. We did draw. They did draw, not qualify. But Crandall Turner run second, and he won 3 Chargers. He run Chargers at first. They still had a little bit of Charger racing here and there.
Sure.
He won 3 of those that season and qualified number 1 for the state race at Livonia, and then got into an accident. But he qualified number 1 out of about 20 Charger cars. And then towards the end of last year, he ran second in that red clay race in 3 races, 2 top 5s. But he qualified on the front row 4 out of his last 8 races last year. One time at West Georgia, first time there, qualified on the pole at Toccoa, which he'd run there a lot, but qualified number 1 at Lawrence Speedway for a 2000 win a few weeks later, and ended up running 3rd in that race because they run heat races, and he had to start on the inside and the outside lane won every race,
Yeah,
so that put him
that's-
2nd row inside for
Yeah.
the race. He come out 4th, passed the 3rd place car, got to 3rd, still one of the fastest cars, which was impressive. And he did a really good
So as a
job.
father, do you enjoy watching him drive more or playing baseball?
Both. That baseball's really
Yeah.
been special.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Win the state championship, 2 Final Fours.
but not as dirty. You can
not as
go
dirty.
home with a clean car when
Yeah.
that's over with. Don't
Yeah,
you?
baseball's a lot easier though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just driving.
Right.
A lot of work with racing.
There is
and
a-
money. And
Yeah,
money.
A lot of
yeah.
money. Well, as we head into closing, we know there's some people that you probably want to thank, from along the way, stuff like that. Kind of give us what kind of car you guys have, what you're going to run in 2026, maybe some plans, stuff like that.
He gets out of school in May. He graduates. He'll graduate with his bachelor's degree. He's got a 3.93 GPA right now. He's been on the dean's list every semester of college, and he worked as an RA and done baseball. So he's a real hard worker. But back to our racing, he gets out of college and he graduates in May. Baseball season's over then too, so we're going to go start wide open then. Primarily focusing on Hartwell on Friday nights, Toccoa and Livonia on Saturday nights. That'll be our 3 primary tracks, and it helps that Hartwell's running Friday night. I hope they have a lot of success. I think they will on Friday nights,
Yeah.
being nobody running around here. We may run some red clay races, we'll see, but we're going wide open. We switched to Excel chassis this year. Lee Cooper builds those up in Greenville, South Carolina. Just something different and new. We're excited about it. We'll see how it goes, but we're excited about it. We got 1 new car and 1 used car. The new car is behind us.
What motor's in it?
602.
602.
And then our other car is a 604, and we might sprinkle in a 604 race
Yeah.
here and there if the
Okay.
opportunity's right, and if the track's run it. They don't really run them around
And
here.
and what I like about the 604 car, you can run the double adjustable shocks and stuff, and it
Right.
just gives some exposure to start learning that side
Okay.
of racing. So,
All right.
like he said, we might sprinkle that in, or we might put a 602 motor in and convert it,
Well,
and just have
okay.
2 cars too.
Okay. All right. What about some help? Who helps you guys?
So, it's all about our help, right? Can't do it without them.
Right.
Obviously, I wanted to give a huge thanks to my grandfather and my dad. It's not possible without them. They're the funding, they're the support, they're the knowledge, they're all of it. And I just luckily get to hold on to the wheel. So, super thankful for them. And then Justin Smith, he's one of our lead main mechanics. He's extremely mechanically sound. That's what he does, and he's shout out if you need any help mechanically or you need a mechanic. He's really, really good at what he does, and but he helps a ton on this thing and at the racetrack. And him and little Jacob, he swung by here earlier, and he's been a tremendous help. Just a little Swiss Army knife. Can do a little bit of everything, and He's young and he's a little smaller, so he can get in tight nooks and crannies if we need him to. You know how that is with a race car.
Yeah.
And so him, my brother Jacob, obviously he's got a ton of knowledge. You know, he grew up going, like he said, going to the track with him, so he learned a ton from him. Also, he learned a ton. He went with Kenny Harris.
Kenny Harris a lot. Learned a lot from him.
Learned a ton from him, and so he's kind of a big, almost like crew chief type position, and knows a ton about that. And he's out here helping. He also does a ton on our tires, on my tire work, keeping those fresh because we run a lot of used tires. And then Big Larry, they've mentioned him earlier. He's been with us for years and years, and now he continues to help us.
He's 78 now.
Yeah, 70,
helping
and makes out the race and helps a ton. And then the rest of our family, John, he's helped us on the body. He's a good amount and taught me something about the body work. And then Lauren and Ashley, they helped me wash the car. They're some good friends of mine that helped me wash the car on Sundays, so that's a big help, an extra set of hands. And then all of our great sponsors, right? You got some of our longtime sponsors. David Smith Carburetors builds great carburetors, really runs.
He helped me
great.
And my dad, and always built our carburetors.
And we've ran him for years, and we continue to run him and support him. He supports us and does a great job for us. And Kenny Harris Graydon, we've mentioned him throughout. He's obviously a good close family friend of ours, and he's helped us a lot along the way. Then the Simpson family, Gus and Greg, and their father James.
Simpsons.
Yeah, they've helped a ton. And one of our newest sponsors, BS Racing, Brady and Steve. I'll talk about that for a second. Steve, we actually did just unfortunately lose him, and he tragically passed away. But he was an incredible man and had a great heart and a great sense of humor. And we're sad to see him go, but we're super thankful for what he did for me as far as sponsorship goes. And we're super thankful for Brady and Nikki as well. And we plan to continue on his legacy and do something a little special for him on the car this year. Senor Fiesta, Tao Diesel, Southern Geotechnical Consultants, CW Demolition Disposal, that's Darren Crow. They do a great job. Excel Racing Chassis, and I think I'm maybe missing one or two, but super thankful for all of them.
Any family
Dave
members?
Harms.
Dave Harms, yeah, Dave Harms. I work with Dave, and that's one thing I do. And it's incredible. If you need any financial, retirement help, insurance, any of
Life
that,
insurance.
life insurance, anything
Really
like that,
Yep.
feel free to reach out to him or me. And super thankful for the mentorship they've had on me as well.
It's fantastic.
A family, like he said, my son Jacob, my wife Beth is a big help and support. Then, like I said, my brother John has helped some, and my sister Misty, she actually goes to the track some and is involved some too. And then, like Dad said, Charles Fuller and Weldon Whitmire, and his daughter still goes some, and son-in-law helps some from special projects.
Sure.
And
Mr. George, anybody?
Well, there's so many that's been a part of our racing. It's kind of hard to single out a few, but the Simpson family, they've been a part of us from James. He's no longer with us, but Gus, he's always been right beside us, and we've tried to be the same way with him. And then Roy Reed was a part. I drove a lot for him back in the day. And the Holtze family, Grady Holtze was a big part of the sponsorship. And then my list could just go on and on and on. I don't have enough time, I don't think, to get it in your program for everybody. But Charles Fuller was a diehard in my pit crew from day one, since the day he was a young man. And I feel like my job is to teach. So when we have people come in the door, young people and stuff like that, I always try to donate my time to make sure that it's not we're doing this or we're doing this, but why are we doing this?
Sure.
And I think that's a big purpose of what I do, is to try to teach, and especially the young ones that's coming along, or anybody like we spoke earlier, that's if they're down and not running right and stuff like that, and you can do a little something to help them, Well, I don't think that cost you anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I do want to say Halsey's.
Yeah,
They
Halsey,
still Kevin
Oh, yeah,
Stevens.
Halsey.
Halsey Auto Parts, Kevin Stevens. I'm great friends with his son Brady, and his grandfather is Grady Halsey. Like he mentioned, and he's helped us a ton. He's helped me a lot. Talking to me about the car, and because he still races and tires, and
they're just part of
Steve
our
and Ben
extended family.
Yeah, Steve
yeah,
Elrod.
Steve Elrod, Ben
Yeah.
Elrod, his son. They've helped a ton with knowledge and on these newer cars, and also a couple I want to also throw in Helton Graphics. We're actually getting the car. That's why.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Jeff
Jeff
Helton.
Helton.
Can't
Yeah.
leave him out because he's littered our cars from day one. I
Yeah.
never knew exactly what was going
Sure.
to be on the car,
Yeah.
but his dad and Jeff's dad and stuff like that, they were always there. They supported me a lot back in my day of racing, and like I said, you get the old car put together, you take it over and leave it, and you never knew what was going to be on the spoiler or anything like that, but
It always looked good.
it was always
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And so we're getting that car right behind us. Actually, getting ready to go over there next week to get it ready for the 26 season, and then Northeast Georgia Concrete as well. Doug over at Northeast Georgia Concrete wanted to give them a shout out too. So
That's fantastic. We look forward to continue covering you and adding to the memorabilia on the wall of the great Reece family race shop.
All right, guys, we have some bonus footage that we would like to share. Mr. Reece is going to share a story from Winder Barrow Speedway. What year was this?
Early 70s.
Early 70s?
Probably 71.
Okay. All right.
70.
We had won a track championship there a couple of years in a row, and they had kind of teamed up and made it in no short order that wasn't going to happen again that year. So when the race started, two of the cars was in front and one behind, and they kind of had me in a box position, and I made my way through that. In the meantime, some of the guys I was with, I think I might have turned one of them around on the racetrack and would come on around. So they stopped, they black flagged the show and
Stopped the show and black flagged you.
yeah, black flag me, and so then they brought the law people in there because I refused to get out of the car and feel like I'd done anything wrong.
Now, you said this was Highway Patrol, right? So
Yeah,
this would have
Georgia
been
State Patrol, wasn't it?
Okay.
Well, then it was the Winder Barrow County who finally got me in a lawn car. Well, there was a
But
good,
they chased you around the car, right?
oh yeah, they was we'd go around the racetrack, so I decided to play with them a little bit, and I'd let them get real close to me, and then I'd take off in the race
And they had their
car.
blue lights on. I've heard people tell the story many times. People who was
yeah.
there.
Sorry. And
So you was having fun.
oh, I was enjoying it, and
And Gerald Crows tried to stop him in his tractor, and he hit it and put a dent in the rear tire. And 25, 30 years later, when I was racing at the driver's meeting, he said, I restored my tractor. And he looked at Dad and said, but the only damn dent I couldn't get out of is when you hit me that night and dented in the back wheel.
And I was in that old orange Chevy too that we were talking about earlier. I told you it was a tank. Well, he was going to ram me with a tractor, and of course I just politely moved him out of the way. And then this get the law people more excited. And now you got to understand that I had a good many fans that didn't want that interference. And so when they finally got me out of the car, they blocked it with the wrecker and law cars and stuff like that. When they first blocked the track, I just exited it and went out up into the parking lot. And another guy jumped in the car with me, and he said, where we're going? I thought about it a minute. I said, let's go back to the racetrack. So we went back and made a few more laps with the law people. And then they finally got me boxed into where I couldn't, and they put a pump shotgun up to the side of my head and said, because we had about 100 people, was not going to let the law people put me in the law car, and they said, you tell them to stop. And I said, you tell them to stop. I can't tell them to stop. And they said, well, we're going to shoot you first. So they finally got me in the law car.
So he told him to stop. Yeah, like, let's go
Yeah, I
on.
said, y'all stop now. And so they actually drove a few miles from the racetrack and stopped the car with my hands handcuffed behind me, got me by the hair of the head, drug me out of the car, and kicked me around a little bit. And then we get on to the racetrack. When we get to the racetrack, we can't get, I mean, we got to the jail. When we got to the jail, we couldn't even get to the jail. There was so many fans and people from the racetrack that had converted. When we tried to get into where they were going to process me and stuff like that, they were backed out. And as it turned out, it wasn't a bad night. They let my wife, Pam, come in and
Didn't they open the jail cell and leave it open?
opened the jail cell and left it open and let her spend the night. And a lot of people went home and got food and stuff. And we come
Brought
back.
food and like a funeral.
We had
eat all night.
We had a party at the
Winder Barrel Jail.
This is good.
And then you got to leave the next morning, didn't you?
Didn't your buddy come
Yeah.
in a suit and tie?
McKee, yeah, he comes in with a big fancy ring and stuff on like that in a briefcase and slams it down on the law people. We was back there because we'd been up all night long partying in the jail, and so I was wanting to sleep a little bit, and Pam was cuddled up to me, and we was in this little bunk, and so I hear this commotion going on out there because I wasn't locked up in a jail cell, no way. And so we went to see what it was, and he's out there telling them that he's a lawyer. Now, he wasn't a lawyer, but he had him convinced that he was.
Had a
His
suit
name was
on.
Jury McKee. And he told him, I'm going to sue Barrow County. I'm going to sue the racetrack and everything. So they told me to get out of here, you know. So we started through there. And I started asking Jerry, "What are you doing?" He said, "You need to be quiet, Mr. Reece." And so I just shut up. And we got outside the jail, man. We were making it to the car to try to get out of Barrow County. But so we went back to the racetrack the next week, and we locked the gates and put a rained out sign on it, you know, so that nobody else could get in for a while. So that was just part of the games, I guess, back in the day.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good one.
All right, Mr. Reece. Well, we appreciate that story.
Yeah.
All right.